Hello, I'm JJ Bull and I'm an analyst for Tifo Football. We're going to look at PSG, Paris Saint-Germain, whatever you want to call them, and how they get all their amazing new signings into the same starting 11, what that's going to look like, and see if they're going to be amazing next season. Before we do that, what's a good thing to do is to learn even more about PSG and football in a written form so you can read it, and you can do that by going to theathletic.com/TifoIRL, as per this link here. And if you do that, there's a deal on for about a 30-day free trial just to try it out. And if you like it, that's amazing. And you can read it and you can subscribe and do all that. If you don't like it, then get the hell out of there. It's up to you. I think it's great, and it's got some of the best writers in the entire world right there for you to read. Seb, he writes a lot of stuff on there. Follow Seb, he's good. Right, let's look at PSG and whether they're going to be some sort of super team next season and how these new lads get into the side. PSG then. So the manager is Mauricio Pochettino, who you may remember from his Tottenham Hotspur days when he was the best manager of all time there. He's not had the best of starts at his PSG career. They didn't win Liga, that was Lille, and they got knocked out of the Champions League by Manchester City. And of course PSG are desperate to win the Champions League. That's the big thing they want to do. They have a lot of big names, and what Pochettino has tended to do with them is play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3. That is the most common setups that he's used. Now, first big transfer you could say they've brought in is the goalkeeper, Donnarumma. Now, it's been said publicly that Keylor Navas will start in goal because he did so well the last few seasons for them, but Donnarumma is maybe one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and I have a sneaking suspicion he might be able to worm his way, he'll goalkeeper his way into being the goalkeeper for PSG. And that's straight, I mean, you can even look at the Champions League game that PSG lost to Man City. There's a goal De Bruyne scored, was a free kick which curls into the far post. Easy mistake to make. Navas caught out and doesn't, he just lets the goal in at his far post. Maybe Donnarumma will stop that, and that's the difference they need to have really. Just a top tier goalkeeper is going to make them a top tier team. Even though Navas is really good, it's a difficult one for old Keylor. Anyway, Donnarumma's going to start there, so that's an easy one to say. Now, if they play a back four, it's going to largely pick itself at left back, or is it? They've got Kurzawa, who can play at left back. He played often. They have Juan Bernat, a Spanish left back who can play there as well. I really like him. He's very attacking and will get right up to give them the width they need on this left side. Marquinhos is captain. He's probably going to start as one of the centre backs. The other centre back, Kupi Kimpembe. You've got Thilo Kehrer as well who could play, but they've just brought in Sergio Ramos, and you'd think surely Ramos will start in there. He's going to bring leadership, drive, determination, great defender. So it's not that he's too old for it. You put Marquinhos and Ramos, that is a solid centre-back pairing with winning experience, and Ramos could be the kind of player that takes them to the next level, especially in Champions League. That's kind of an obvious central two. Kimpembe would be the one who would come in for one of these two if they're not available, or rotation, things like that. At right back, this is a new signing, so Achraf Hakimi signed from Inter Milan for quite a lot of money. I think it's around £50 million or euros. Doesn't really matter, it's an awful lot. One of the reasons it's believed that Antonio Conte left Inter is because they started selling all the best players. Hakimi is believed to be one of the best right backs in the world. So quite obviously that makes them a lot better on the right. They were playing Florenzi, the Italian right back. Last season he was on loan, but he's gone back. So this is their option now, one of the best right backs in the world. Instantly an improvement, I would say, in goals. I think Navas has been hard done, but Donnarumma, improvement in goals, and you've got one of the best right backs there, and then one of the most, Sergio Ramos, he's won everything. So you put him in there. That's a pretty strong backline. Now, the thing that PSG have had for a long time is how you get Neymar, Mbappe, Di Maria, whoever else they've got lying around. You've got Sarabia, Draxler, a lot of good players that they get in the same team, but also so they need to be strong in attack, but they need to be able to be balanced. So balance is key. Now, if you play a 4-3-3, let's stick in Ander Herrera in midfield, right? Here, and you play Mbappe through the middle. Now, that is one of the most fearsome, creative, fast front threes in European football right here. Di Maria doesn't tend to score many, but assists a lot. I think he had 9 assists last season in Liga. Mbappe, 27 goals. I think he's won the top scorer in Liga 3 seasons in a row now. Neymar, injured a lot more than you might realise. He's not even played that much. Hugely important for them and can win a game on his own. Hugely creative. If you look at all these guys' defensive efforts. So in FB Ref, if you look at things like pressures, tackles, things made, especially these two guys, they do nothing. They don't do anything. Not that they can't, or see, this is the thing. Is it because they just aren't suited to playing that sort of defensive high press role, or is it because the manager has given them a little bit of room to be able to focus on their attacking game rather than having to do all the defensive work? And that kind of thinking is why the midfield was so workmanlike. Ander Herrera, ball-winning midfielder. Danilo, a holding defensive midfielder. Idrissa Gueye, a ball-winning midfielder, really. More box-to-box, did very well at Everton. But he was mostly like a 6 at Everton. He plays more as an 8 for PSG. Now that's a very workmanlike midfield. A little bit like in style, similar in style to how Liverpool play. So the front three, do all the attacking. Then you get width, an attacking width from your fullbacks who get really high and wide, and that's something we know Pochettino likes. You remember his Spurs team, the fullbacks are always really high and wide. So that's something that PSG can do. Mbappe is a central striker here. And then what you need to do is protect the rest of the pitch. So 2 centre-backs, they're not going to go far. Danilo plays in here as your sort of 6, Idrissa Gueye and Ander Herrera in there. And that's what they've had. But when you put in Verratti, very good at helping with the press. There's no point if he's coming up here to help with the press if he's not doing what he's supposed to do and he's not doing what he's supposed to do. And again, it's not that Neymar and Mbappe are not doing things on purpose. I think it's probably a tactical decision that they're not making as many defensive actions as they perhaps would need to be a more balanced team. And you think of Pochettino's best Spurs team, they were well known for how good at pressing they were and winning the ball back, mostly in sort of a mid-block, I would have said. They pressed high, but they won the ball an awful lot in this sort of area, around the midfield. So the midfielders would drop back, they get very tight around here, very congested, compact, out of possession, win the ball in these sorts of positions, and then they can break. And then straight away, your fullbacks get really high and wide. So it's always like the starting formation. I'll give you little arrows so you can see what's going to happen every single time. Those guys are always going to make those runs. The midfield stays kind of static. Verratti will come in as a 10, and he's done that before, played as a 10. But another thing they've done, because Mbappe is a very front-footed striker, we'll say. He's very quick, can get in behind the defence, and that's what he does. What they have done in the past is put in Icardi, who's over here. But then you want to get Mbappe into the team as well. You have to play Neymar at the same time. So what they've done when Icardi's played there, he's more of a poacher, but he can play with his back to goal, so he can help with link play. Neymar comes in as a 10. You can play Di Maria on the right or the left, and then you can play Mbappe on the left here, which means you've got to lose one of the midfielders. So out comes Gueye, and then you've got Danilo and Verratti. It's a solid midfield pair, and Neymar is your 10. But Neymar is going to be he's not going to do any defensive work. So pretty much you've got 4 players who aren't going to do the defensive work that you need, which is quite imbalanced. You can get away with this against weaker teams, but when you come to the Champions League, you just can't really get away with having all that attack and not enough of a defensive balance. So one of the best signings I think they've made in the window is Gini Wijnaldum, who's kind of an all-round midfielder who doesn't want to come and play for me. There he is. Be my friend. Right. So if we look at this in a kind of almost Barcelona-ish way, they want to, you think of Barcelona or Pep's Barcelonas as being some of the best in Europe in the last decade or so. Now, that's obviously 12 players. Not allowed to do that, so we have to take one of these out. Let's take out Icardi for now. We've got Di Maria, Neymar, and Mbappe. So rather than having the purely workmanlike midfield, suddenly you've got a holding midfielder who can work as the anchor. So he forms this sort of triangle with the centre-backs, and will obviously dip into here. So there's another triangle when they're building. You can do that. But the important bit is that the midfield triangle is Verratti, who can move into the sort of 10 space. Wijnaldum can do similar, and did so for the Netherlands in Euro 2020 very well. But Wijnaldum will sort of be the bridge between the defence and attack. So if you imagine them in separate parts, they won't play in a line, obviously. But Verratti is going to be the more attacking of the midfielders. Wijnaldum's going to be the more midfieldery of the midfielders. And Danilo is the more defensive. And it could be Idrissa Gueye plays there, it could be Ander Herrera, it could be Paredes. Lots of options for this sort of position. But there's a nice balance to that. Wijnaldum and Verratti can both help with the forward press. So when you press now, higher up the pitch, Wijnaldum can fill this sort of half space in here, Verratti can fill in sort of here, and you're able to contain teams in different ways. Hakimi can overlap, Bernat can overlap. Very aggressive, But if the team stays nice and compact out of possession, like Pochettino likes his teams to, there's just a lot more effective, I would say, in these situations for winning the ball back high up the pitch. Kurzawa just doesn't want to play. We'll put Bernat back. So, of the signings they've made, Donnarumma, an obvious goalkeeper improvement, arguably, and I'm going to argue that he is. Ramos makes them much better in defence. Hakimi makes them much better at right back, so they've got more attacking width, which allows for players like Di Maria or Mbappe, who plays on the right, to come inside. They've not got Moise Ken, he's gone back to Everton, he's not there anymore. Sarabia is not really getting many games. Draxler's not really considered a player for them. Rafinha doesn't really play as much as he'd probably want to. But this is the balance that they need. So rather than having an all defensive midfield and all attack, suddenly they've got a midfield which is a little bit more fluid, you could say, because it can have defensive parts, midfieldy parts, attacking parts, and support the strikers or the forwards. Another thing that PSG could do with all these new players is change the shape a bit, and Pochettino's done this a couple of times at Spurs, and it could be something we see with this team. And that would be pretty much taking out one of these forwards. So we say that they need to get the balance right. Why not take one of these forwards out? Icardi comes out. And Mbappe plays as a central forward. Neymar goes into the left. Di Maria can play in the right because he's left-footed. And then you need to put an extra player. An extra player that would go in is going to be another defender. So you play a 3-4-3. Bernat and Hakimi essentially play as wing-backs. And that allows Di Maria and Neymar to come inside the pitch. So when they push up high, you're going to be able to have Di Maria in the half spaces, Hakimi on the wide space, Neymar in the half space, Turtle Power, Bernat up here in the wide space, and Mbappe is a striker here. And then the midfield pair, it's all about getting the balance in that as well, but the good thing is that Marquinhos can play as a defensive midfielder too. So if they do want to move up like this, what they can often have is Verratti can move out here, Marquinhos can maybe move into this position here. If Danilo doesn't play, then we could put in another midfielder, Wijnaldum, because he's just signed. Then you can very quickly go from, it's not an ideal way to do it, we go from a back 3 to a back 2 very easily, and then Marquinhos just drops in here. So you put them the other way around, that makes more sense. Kempembe on the left, Ramos on the right. That makes more sense, because Ramos can play in this sort of area here. It's not exactly how they're going to do it, but this is one way that they could definitely get all these defenders in the same team, and they might do this against difficult sides to play against in the Champions League. In Liga, they're going to be the better team most of the time, so they don't have to have this extra defender. They can pretty much rely on their better players. That said, they didn't win Liga last year, so maybe that's a good idea to try it. One more thing they could also do is play this kind of 4-4-2, 4-2-4 that a lot of teams have started doing recently. And that would give you two strikers up front, obviously. So Mbappe could pretty much, well, let's actually put Neymar could play alongside someone. So Mbappe can start on the left wing. Neymar can start alongside Icardi, who's a poacher. So you've got your 10 and a striker. It's basically the 4-2-3-1, the same sort of thing, but it's more of this 4-2-4 that we're trying to look at. So to get rid of one player, I'm going to get rid of probably Kempembe. You have your 4, as in your wing backs, with Bernat and Hakimi, fullbacks, whatever you want to call them. Verratti, Wijnaldum against decent teams, very mobile. They'll know exactly when to fill space and when not to. More than likely, you're going to have one or the other. So Wijnaldum and Verratti probably won't start in this sort of situation. You're more than likely going to have Danilo in there. So you've got a bit of defensive grit, and then Verratti can help transition between defence and midfield. So another option they've got, Mbappe goes playing the right as a winger, and you have Di Maria on the left as a winger. So that was going to give you the advantage of being able to hit crosses in on their stronger foot, that sort of thing. Because obviously Di Maria is left-footed, Mbappe is right, but that's not really their game. It's not really what they're going to do. You're going to have Mbappe's probably going to play most of the time as a striker or as part of a front 3. But they've got options. 3-4-3 is most likely you would see in Europe, and a lot of teams do it. I mean, Chelsea won the Champions League playing that sort of system. So maybe that's an option. PSG had great players last season, great attacking talent, very creative. They created heaps of chances, scored lots of goals, mostly in open play, very low percentage of set pieces scored to open play goals. And the problem they had really was getting the defensive balance right. Man City were able to beat them far too easily. They've improved key positions that they needed to, and I think the way they're looking, they should be much better placed to go one step further in Champions League than they did last season. They were in the final a couple of seasons ago. They've got experience of that. This is a better looking team, and it's, you change up a team every few years or so. This is something they've done, brought in new blood, as people say, and it's a fresher team. I think it looks pretty good, and yeah, That's how they can line up with all those different ways, different players that they've got in, and I think they're going to do very well. And for more sort of analysis like that and other teams we're going to do, just like that in this channel here, is Tifo IRL. Please give it a subscribe and turn the bell notification on if you want, and then you get told when they all get uploaded. And give it a like, and give me a comment and tell me who I've missed out and what players you think you would start. I think it's going to be like this, like a 4-3-3 largely like this with Mbappe, Icardi and Neymar. Maybe I'm wrong, tell me. And that's it. Have a lovely time.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is where the Manchester United reporters revealed the truth behind the club's Jadon Sancho transfer fiasco, where the Tottenham reporters brought you news of Gareth Bale's return before anyone else, where the Chelsea reporters told us 3 days before his sacking that Frank Lampard was on the verge of losing his job. And you can try it now for free for 30 days. See the link in the description.